What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. We are over in some crystal clear water, and here we're doing the primitive game. We got pole spear only. We're over here with Anthony. Jacqueline. I was gonna say Jackie. I was gonna go short. So we got two Jacks on the board, myself and her. We got Spinny, and we also got Scotty Boy in the water. So we have a really good crew. Our target species are gonna be hogfish, grouper, and really anything that swims by. I'm gonna be doing voiceovers, so I will see you guys down below. All right, you guys, welcome underwater and welcome back to the voiceovers. Now this is going to be a huge variety of fish shot on this trip, and the best part is it's all with the pole spear. And the pole spear I'm rocking is the Headhunter Nomad 9-foot pole spear, which is an absolute beast. And I'm rocking it on a belt reel, no float line attached. I'm always prepared to drop the weight belt if I run into any issues. So this first dive is a retrieval dive. I just hopped in the water. Spinny made a quick drop, shot a nice strawberry grouper, and when he shot it, a nice mutton came in, and that's what you see me kind of staring off in the distance. He's not really giving me the time of day, so I didn't want to waste the dive and just sit there and wait for this fish to come in. So I turned around. My goal was to help Spencer out and get this strawberry grouper out of this hole. He said it was lodged in there really well. I couldn't really figure out how it was, so I started ripping it pretty good. Ended up ripping the pole spear out, which means the slip tip pulled out of the fish, but I could still see the grouper in there. So I ended up reaching in, grabbing the grouper by his mouth. Didn't want to waste any more time on this fish. Basically grabbed him by the lips like a bass and slipped him right out. Now I messed up the meat quite a bit, but I don't want to sit here and spend a ton of time trying to work this fish out of the hole. What? That was your meat shot. There you go. Pretty mangled. We slowly drifted into a different area. Again, hold your breath with me. There was the countdown, and I'm making a quick drop because I saw a cubera kind of swimming in and around this reef. Just to dive bomb a cubera is not super ideal. It has been successful, but not in this clear, in this shallow of water. So I threw my throw flasher, went down, did a lot of grunting, did some dusting. I was hoping to not only possibly pull in that cubera, but to pull in a mangrove snapper or a mutton snapper. But the cubera does come in, and he came in right there, and he kind of did a little sneak attack on me. Just came in, checked me out, and darted off. You can see I grabbed a rock. I was trying to bang it up against another rock. I was trying to throw it. I was really doing a lot of grunting, trying to cause a little bit of disturbance in the water, holding my breath down there, but the fish just kind of took off and was just on his way out. Again, I was just hoping for anything at this point to come in, but it's early in the day. If you see why my GoPro is pointed down at the sand, it's because I'm trying to not look directly at the fish. They kind of get a sense, if you give them your full attention, they start to realize that you're a predator and you want to go after them. So I always try to keep my head down, especially when I'm after cuberas. This is a great tutorial to show how the throw flasher I use works. So I have it clipped onto my belt. It's a little piece of PVC with some reflective tape wrapped around it, but you'll see that Spearo on the bottom right of my screen kind of cruising through, and when I threw my throw flasher, once it started to turn to show it interest, I knew it was going to beeline directly at the flasher. That's the direction I head, and I meet up with a fish and land that perfect spine shot, which is an ideal situation and is exactly what you want to have happen. Works time and time again. So if you take nothing from this video except this, it's something you won't regret. And do me a favor, like, subscribe, keep following for more tips and adventures. So Spinny and I were diving together. He made a drop on this nice mangrove, and it started to kind of go on the outs, and I noticed it was going to go on the way out, and Spencer was actually hoping for the cubera, But I caught this mangrove on the way out from Spencer, and he ended up hanging down there a little bit longer, hoping for the Spearo. You can see him pointing over towards it right now. And I make another dive on this fish here in a minute. These Spearos, they're basically an overgrown mangrove snapper, but they are extremely smart. But on this dive, I'll be happy with a stud mangrove and another fish in different variety to add to the box. So you'll see that Spearo at the top of the screen. He's just kind of barely cruising, not straight under us, but kind of off in the distance. And the way you get these guys to come in is you just have to go down to the bottom and grunt and scratch, and you have to try to hold your breath for quite a long time. They're very finicky, but they will come in eventually. I go ahead and load up the pole spear. Realistically, I probably should have just left it unloaded, but you'll see me grab a rock, and I'm trying to just kind of piss it off. I'm trying to smash rocks, not only pique its curiosity, but make it angry that this is his reef, and they tend to get a little territorial. And this guy comes in pretty close, and the thing you have to keep in mind with this pole spear is you want to angle it the way you think the fish is going to come, because to track it, it sometimes spooks the fish. And again, I have my head down. You might be able to see this fish, but he's just, I'm banging those rocks. I'm almost about to lunge forward at him, but you see them at the top of the screen. He's just out of range, and I'm not going to just let it fly. And Spinny was really rooting for me down there, but no luck on this drop.
I thought my heart started racing for you, dude. I was coming right towards you.
You just kept.
I wasn't trying to move. I was like, is he
Nah, dude. It's just a crapshoot, you know. Yeah.
We're now heading to a different area where we're going to get a little bit of better quality of fish. I spotted this nice black grouper, and I was contemplating shooting it because it was like a 10 to 15 pound grouper, and I know there's a chance we could see bigger, but I'm really glad I took this one. It was kind of hiding out in the hole, a really easy one to dive on. Just make the drop straight down, kind of use the edge to hide myself until I saw just enough of the head to where I could land a really good holding shot right through and pinned it to the reef until I could get my hand into the gills and on the other side of my spear. And now I know the fish isn't going anywhere. Once it's through the skull and to the ground and you are holding the fish on the spear, very unlikely that the fish is going to come off, especially even if it does slide off. That slip tip is definitely going to hold it on.
All right, so we broke the ice, got that nice mangrove, nice Spearo. It doesn't work any better than that. Like, I mean, it was picture perfect. The thing came into the flasher, and then I absolutely spined him, rolled him, and yeah, that was beautiful. But we broke the ice. Check it out. You ready to check it out?
There's more.
There's more. We got a black grouper somewhere in here. Right there. It's a good one, huh?
I think that mutton's bigger, but yeah.
Good eating. I'm the king. I'm the king of smaller fish now because of that Ciguatera escapade. I'm only shooting smaller fish, and if you haven't seen that Ciguatera episode, make sure you look back on the videos. It was when I was in the Virgin Islands, and I nearly died, and I would have been okay with it in the moment. You're gonna get back in the water, see what else we get into.
We drift into a little bit of a different structure area, not too far from where I just shot that black grouper, and Spinny ran into a huge nest of lobster. He goes down, and I just wanted to kind of get some B-roll footage of him, and tell me if you see the lionfish before I point it out to him, and see if you would have missed it as well. He's in this edge, kind of working these lobster out of here, and watch this. Watch what happens. It's kind of crazy. And this is what you have to do. You have to barehand them. I mean, realistically, you can shoot them, but I don't like shooting them because there's a high chance that they'll have eggs. But I'm pointing the lionfish. If you haven't seen it already, and I yell at him, he was less than an inch from whacking his head on that thing, and that would have been so brutal. And we talk about it once we hit the surface.
You're about to headbutt that guy.
Could you imagine?
That would suck. I did. Saved your life, bro. But the yeah, I know.
Now, those of you who don't know, lionfish are super venomous. I've been hit by them a couple times, and all of their, or a majority of their fins have like a little hypodermic needle, and if it just grazes you, it scratches you and releases a neurotoxin, and it's venom. So it really messes with your nerves. It is extremely painful. It's like, I equate it to getting a shot in your arm, but like times 10, and it doesn't go away. So I'm very cautious when we're snagging these lobsters out of these ledges. And again, we could be shooting them, but I'm worried about them having eggs on them and not being able to see them. So we're just hand grabbing them just because we can. We have the bottom time and the capability to do it. Also, it just makes it a little more fun.
Dude, they're all like giants. They're all giants. They're everywhere.
Some would probably say that grabbing lobster in the Bahamas is not a great idea because you can just get a nest in Florida and get some. But one, the Bahamas lobster are really big, and then two, you see that we kicked up all that debris and the lobster's been scurrying around. It attracts other fish like lobster, or like muttons, groupers, and hogfish, just like this one, which is a good enough size for me to take it if he finally turns sideways. Now I made the mistake. He started to turn to the left, and that's when I shot and just grazed his cheek. But when you graze them like this, there's a high chance they're gonna rock up, and that's exactly what this one does. It seems like he's gonna keep going even farther, but I know he's gonna eventually stop. Once he stopped, I made sure I went straight above him, did a nice breathe up at the surface, didn't want to press, overdo it. I knew this was going to be a quick dive, so I made sure I just relaxed it just enough to line up another shot on this fish. The fish he's finally calmed down. I am right to almost in the spot where I had already hit, went all the way through, grabbed a hold, did basically the same thing I did on that grouper, kept the spear into the ground until I got a hold of the fish, and then brought my two hands up to the surface.
Got a nice hog. Okay.
Now I left that rolling a little bit because I wanted to show you guys how easy it is to take the fish off this headhunter slip tip. You just unhook it and then hand the boat your slip tip. They slide the fish right off, and then you just reattach your slip tip. But we're gonna get into this dive with another different variety of fish. There was a shark in the area, so I wasn't going to take any chances and was gonna make sure I put a stone shot on this yellowjack, another variety to add to the box.
I have to, because there's a shark by. I have to stone it. It's gonna be a show. Always. Ready, bro. Alright, ready to rock and roll.
Now we head to where the big fish are. We're diving in 60 plus feet on a big reef, and Scott makes a drop on a big black grouper. I don't know if you can really see it from this angle, but he took a good shot in this black grouper. But unfortunately, he was using a different pole spear. He wasn't using the headhunter, but the slip tip cable cut, and then the injector rod bent, and he lost his slip tip, and the fish just disappeared. Now, we were on this area and the current was pumping, so we were taking turns pushing each other up current and making drops and just scouting this area to try to figure out where this fish went. And you would normally think that it's pretty easy to spot a fish, especially like a 35-pound black grouper, in a small reef area like this. But as you get closer, you'll realize how many different cracks and crevices this reef holds. And even if it looks from the surface like it's just a little reef, you go to the edge and look up under this edge here, and the reef basically keeps going. And all these things connect one way or another, so the grouper can sit there and move and work its way down the reef without you even seeing it from the surface. So that's why I always have the flashlight, and sometimes I even, you know, let go of my spear and I just go free-handed and just search around the whole reef. And realistically, the grouper was right around the other side. We thought he went farther down the reef, like right in that hole in the bottom of the screen was where he was. And I'm so mad because I do another dive here and I spot him, just his nose, and I turn around, load up my spear, and let him have it.
That's where I saw him going. All right, you guys. So Scott tagged and tore out of a nice black, and unfortunately I shut my GoPro off and made a drop. We were blindly searching, and I ended up seeing the lips of this guy, took a rip, and I shot him right through the eye. And it is a good one, dude. It is a really good, it's a good fish, and I'm so mad that I didn't have it on GoPro. This makes me so mad. Gosh dang it. It was so sick. Guys, was it cool?
It was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Yeah, that's what it did to, that's what it did to Scott's.
And it broke my cable.
And then where's my injector? I don't know, somewhere. Where the hell did I put it?
I think it's right there.
My injector.
Titanium, brother.
Look at this.
Those like titanium. Oh, you can
Just
bend it back.
bent sideways. Big fish. Shot him right through the eye. He tried to swim out towards me, and I basically just grabbed both sides of the spear and just swam him up to the surface.
I think it's lunch there.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing. But we're gonna get a quick lunch break, get back after it. Pretty amazing day. Some good fish in the box. What do you say? Good fish?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, getting it.
Yeah, brother.
After getting our butts beat with all that current, we decided to move to an area that was a little shallower, which meant a little bit less current. And of course, we found lobster again. Here I go, a different method. Luckily we had a net and a tickle stick, and I already snagged one of these, so I have one lobster in my right hand along with the tickle stick, and then in my left hand I have a net. The boat was a little ways away, so I didn't want to waste time and wait for the boat to come over. Just wanted to make sure I get another lobster in the boat, tickle this guy out, and basically come up to the surface with two caught lobster in both of my hands. And the trick with these guys is you just got to be patient. You know, a lot of people would try to force that net over them, but you just have to sit there and let them get comfortable with the net, tickle them up in the front, and they'll slowly work their way into the net, or at least get close enough to where you can close it down on top of them, just like I did on that one.
I got some. There's a ledge here that has like 3 or 4 in them.
Since we were talking about lobster, this is an absolute sweet dive. Now, this area would probably be crawling with grouper, but instead it's crawling with huge lobsters. And I'm talking like 4-pound lobsters, maybe even bigger. But I go down to the bottom, and realistically, I'm using my 9-foot pole spear as a tickle stick because anything else would not work. But I go under this big slab, and you'll see how freaking far back this thing goes and how many giant lobsters are just chilling back there. And you can see with anything else, there ain't no way I'm getting these lobster out of here. Even if I reach all the way in with a short tickle stick, there's no chance. So I get him to this little valley here till he gets a little comfortable, and I think because he was so irritated and something kind of kicked him out of his home, he starts to try to come out and find a new area. You can see this absolute size. of this lobster. This is such a cool dive, and I just barehand this guy, crawling out slowly. My hand is just hanging out on the side, acting like it's a part of the reef. Once it gets close enough, and he was just out of reach. I dropped my pole spear, take off after him, cornered him, and just got a hold of him. And with these really big ones, they end up being so big that they are not very fast and darty, so it makes it a little easier to catch them. And my pole spear was still attached to my belt reel, so I just let the belt reel spool out, and I'll deal with it later.
Look at that. Look at the size of that lobster. That's a big boy. Woo, that's a big boy. My spear is down wedged in a crack. Look at the size of that thing.
Trying to fish him out.
Those legs. Monsters. It was grabbing my arm. It was killing me.
We're just gonna do one more quick dive and have you guys hold your breath with me, making the drop. Actually, not one last dive, but one last dive catching lobster. I go to the same hole, but you can see how quickly I can fail at this, as well as how successful I am at it. You'll notice the same exact crack, same deal as last time. I see the antennas up there at the top, so I start working this lobster out, hoping it does the same exact thing, which it really does, but I just failed a little hard. And my problem was my pole spear was too long, so I needed to go actually fully under because it couldn't get in that crack. So I go fully under, stick the pole spear all the way through from this side, and I believe I probably detached it from my reel, because worst case I'll just go down and get it if I drop it. But I go reach around, and I'm like, oh shoot, he's gonna come out straight towards me. So I try to cut him off with my left hand, and I just shimmy him, and he literally goes right into my hands, but I wasn't expecting it, and he just darts back into the hole. So I have to do another drop and try to get him on the second drop.
Bastard, he ran right into my hands, but yeah, I wasn't fast enough.
That was probably enough lobster for me, so it is back to hunting mode, fish hunting mode. And sure enough, here comes a nice yellowjack cruising the edge of this reef. I know we're kind of towards the end of our day, so I want to make sure I get a couple of good quality fish in the boat just so I can go home happy. Follow this guy. I try to go for the stone shot, but I should have just waited a little bit longer, but I didn't want the fish to dart and, you know, lose an easy opportunity when I know I can shoot this fish in the mid-body gill plate area and land him. Grab him, head to the surface. Now I know I'm gonna gut him and hope that that brings in more potential fish, muttons or hogfish, possibly. After gutting that fish, I gave it to the boat. Actually, no, I tucked it in my wetsuit and cruised down to the bottom. There wasn't any muttons that actually came in. That big barracuda did kind of come in to see what was going on, and I actually shut my camera off, unfortunately, and then have to wait a second and then turn it back on, so you're not going to get the full length of this dive. But if anything, you know, you get to kind of cheat a little bit and gives you a few seconds. So I shut the GoPro off, turned it back on. Nice hogfish. I decided, I was like, okay, I'm going to go ahead and take this hog. It's a decent sized one. So again, those hogfish are pretty easy. So if there's nothing else around, it's a good option to take. And also everybody on the boat was dying to have hogfish. In my opinion, hogfish is decent, but there are better fish out there. But a lot of people love the white flakiness of the hogs, and you know, doesn't hurt to have another hogfish on the boat.
All right, you guys, we are done for the day. A huge variety of fish. We got into some lobster, so we're really stoked about that. Got our limit on blacks, got our limit on hogfish. It really doesn't get any better than that. If you guys enjoyed this video, give it that thumbs up. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you have any questions, comment, drop them down below. I try to do my best to respond, and I will see you guys next week for another adventure. Later.